began with just 8 shareholders in 1929, the creation of Central Vermont Public Service. Despite tracing its roots back to 1858, when its earliest ancestor was organized, CV was one of the smallest investor-owned utilities in the country at the time. It still is, but it would develop a reputation that would reach well beyond the mountains of Vermont. From service quality and reliability to environmentalism and innovation, CV has been known throughout its history as a company willing to reach beyond the ordinary for its customers. CV was the first utility in the world to harness the wind and put it onto the electric grid. That first wind project on Grandpa's Knob in Castleton became the inspiration for a generation of engineers determined to capture the wind's power and inspired a company focused on clean, renewable energy. CV was the first utility in New England to install two-way radios in company vehicles in 1946. The move would save lives when the East Pittsford Dam gave way a year later, and employees were able to warn people downstream before the floodwaters arrived. Bert Cree, President and Chief Executive Officer from 1936 to 1961, was the driving force for CV's early development. He guided CV through massive growth, overcoming huge obstacles to build more than 400 miles of line in just 12 months, bringing electricity to thousands of small farms and homes in 1947 alone.
As a result, the company received the Thomas W. Martin Rural Electrification Award that year. Right-away manager Bill Tarble said the job was easier back then. Everyone was anxious to get electric service, and they wanted to ease the way for the line crews.
CV was the nation's first utility to offer time-of-day rates, using the load shifting, peak controlling rates to help customers reduce their bills, limit the growth of expensive peak demands, and reduce environmental impacts of generation. CV was the first utility in the country to develop a manure-to-energy program that gave customers a fully renewable energy choice. CVPS cow power brought new hope to Vermont dairy farmers plagued by years of low milk prices. 6 farms now generate cow power, with expectations that CV will derive 5% of its energy load from cow manure within 10 years.
When we first announced our plans to develop cow power, a lot of people were scratching their heads. But customers, farm owners, and the press, they've all recognized the value of what we've created.
CV was the first company in New England to bring hybrid electric technology to utility service work, employing the region's first hybrid electric bucket truck and demonstrating fiscal and environmental benefits. The new truck has reduced carbon dioxide emissions by about 14 tons annually, a 58% reduction compared to a traditional diesel bucket truck. CV was the first small utility in the country to begin studying the potential of hybrid electric plug-in vehicles with CVPS Plug and Go. The program offers plug-in hybrid vehicle owners the opportunity to charge up for the equivalent of $1 a gallon of gasoline, while drastically reducing greenhouse gases. With close ties to the land and waters of Vermont, CV employees share a special bond with the environment. From generation choices to operating practices, from vehicle selection to wildlife management, from waste management to line clearance, CV employees have long demonstrated an affinity for preserving, even improving Vermont's environment. CV was at the forefront of the industry in 1948 when it began its forestry program. Focused on reliability through introduction of low-growing plant species that edge out taller problem trees, CV's programs provide some of the best wildlife habitat in the state, and CV has been recognized by the National Arbor Day Foundation for 7 straight years as a Treeline USA award winner.
Continuing that streak has become an expectation, but over the years our employees have often gone beyond what's come to be expected. In the 1980s, CV followed the lead of our customer, Mary Zetterstrom, to help endangered ospreys. Employees really played a critical role in the state's efforts to return them to Vermont's waterways and skies.
Nesting platforms, interactive web pages, photography, and a children's book were the tools as employees' efforts were rewarded with the osprey's removal from the endangered species list in 2005. That work led to an invitation to become a partner in the Vermont Bald Eagle Restoration Initiative, which is attempting to do for eagles what's already been done for ospreys. CV employees helped build protective enclosures, volunteered to help raise eaglets, and developed a webcam so people around the world could watch as the eaglets grew and took their first flights. Employees' personal passions and talents have expanded recycling programs across the company. Wire reels, once sent to landfills, are now shipped back to wire suppliers for reuse. Used pallets, once piled on a scrap heap, now produce renewable energy at the McNeil plant in Burlington. Perhaps most obvious to Vermonters, CV's power supply has always included a mix of renewable energy few utilities can match. While half the nation's electricity comes from burning coal, CV took a different tack, buying and building hydroelectric stations across Vermont and developing one of the cleanest power mixes in the country, with 43% of its energy from renewable sources and almost no fossil fuels. The hydro stations, including 14 built before 1930, can generate nearly 45 megawatts of energy. CV's environmental commitment has been lauded in recent years, winning 4 Governor's Awards for environmental excellence, the National Wild Turkey Federation's National Land Stewardship Award in 2005, and the Edison Electric Institute's Finalist Award in 2007. Vermonters share a deep concern about the environment, but reliability is the first concern for any electric utility, and it has long been the hallmark of CVPS. From 1929 through today, employees have often put their lives on hold for customers. Building a reliable system and cleaning up after Mother Nature is a challenge in Vermont's rural landscape and a source of pride for CV employees. Despite ice storms and blizzards, floods and windstorms, CV has excelled in providing safe, reliable energy to Vermonters. The tools have evolved as the decades passed, but for today's employees, the phrase, "whatever it takes," is not only a synopsis of CV's philosophy on storm restoration and customer service, it's a link to the earliest days of the company. From the great floods of the 20s, 30s, and 40s to the southern Vermont blizzard in the fall of 1987, storms have played a big part in defining CV. 2 of the worst hit in 2007 and 2008, a freak windstorm that came to be known as the Noricane, and an ice storm that would dwarf damage records from the previous 8 decades. Employees rallied around the cause each time, devoting themselves to their customers, who returned the favor. Many offered kind words and a helping hand. The Noricane also brought national acclaim, as CV and its employees were honored with the Edison Electric Institute's 2007 Emergency Recovery Award. The surprise award, the industry's highest honor, was presented for outstanding planning, preparation, management, and communication, making CV the smallest utility in the country to win it. The 2008 ice storm was a sequel to the Noricane, destroying miles of lines and putting company planning and resources to another major test. The storm was the most expensive in CV history, a debacle that knocked out service to nearly 1/3 of the company's customers and hundreds of thousands of people throughout the Northeast. CV nearly doubled its workforce practically overnight, bringing in crews from as far away as Ontario and West Virginia, Michigan, and Maryland, and restored service to nearly 3/4 of affected customers in one day. While utilities throughout the Northeast face significant challenges, even criticism, CV won accolades and a second straight EEI Emergency Recovery Award.
I'm very proud of the way our employees responded to this storm. I'm very proud of the award we've received for our response to this storm. At the same time, I hope we never win this award again, and I hope our system never experiences such devastation again.
As CV looks towards the future, new challenges no doubt await employees. Major storms, protecting Vermont's natural resources, maintaining a clean power supply, and controlling costs, to name a few. But if the company's history as an industry pioneer is an indication, CV employees will unite around each challenge and do what they've done since the company was formed. Whatever it takes.